My DNA says I'm not my dad's biological son. After confronting my mom, she opened up and told me a bizarre, wild story. For as long as I can remember, my parents' marriage has been happy and stable. They were high school sweethearts, and my dad proposed to her at their senior prom, or so they say. Nowadays, they're your stereotypical old couple, just as in love as the day they married. For Thanksgiving, one of my friends bought DNA kits for our whole friend group. He's super into genealogy and family trees and wanted to share his hobby, I guess. I just got my results back, and my biological father was found. Except he's not the man who I grew up calling my dad. He's some rando from New Jersey. He hasn't reached out to me, and I have no intention of reaching out to him. I have to admit, he does look like me, but he doesn't look like my sister at all. That means that either my sister is my dad's real daughter, or that my mom cheated multiple times. I do know that my dad's family has a history of fertility issues, and that his identical twin brother can't have kids at all. I don't want to blow up my parents' lives, and regardless of my DNA, my dad is still my dad. He raised me and loved me like his own, and that's all that matters to me. But there's a voice in the back of my mind telling me to tell my dad that he deserves to know that his wife cheated, and that he raised another man's child. But then, will he ever look at me the same way? What if he disowns me out of rage? And what about my mom? She lives off his pension and home business. But she's a cheater, so maybe I shouldn't consider her feelings. I don't know. I had to tell someone, so I figured Reddit might be a good place. I'm going to think about what I should do for a while before taking any drastic action. I have the power to destroy my parents' lives, and I don't take that lightly. Relevant comments. Bored Panda 55. Kind of depends on the couple. Age, religion, etc. You literally have no idea what happened around your conception, unless they tell you something. It is very possible to do something else other than cheat. Maybe talk to mom first. I know you are angry now, but cheating is only one of the multiple reasons for this. Last question. Did your DNA come back 100% as your mom? 'Cause that happened on Reddit before. Guy DNA tested his daughter, found out she wasn't him, and flipped on his wife. After tons of work in testing mom, they found out their child had been switched to the hospital. OP. Her family's never done DNA testing, so I don't know. My parents have been honest with me about other embarrassing things. I just can't see them keeping something like that from me. But I suppose it's possible. Zenis Bastion. How old are you, OP? It doesn't really matter. I'm just curious. You should definitely talk to your mom first. Your dad may know that you are not his biological son. OP, I'm 27, and you're right that it doesn't matter. I know people think I'm acting immature by jumping to cheating, but my gut is telling me that it can't be something as simple as a sperm donor or adoption. We're family. We tell each other everything, me and my dad especially, and I can't believe that they'd hide something as important as who gave me the blood in my veins. I don't know, and I guess I won't know until I talk to my mom. Diligent Course 16616. Let me ask you for some advice from a step-parent in a similar situation. Would you have preferred to be told the truth since you were old enough to understand it, or have it kept a secret, knowing how you feel now? I don't want to lie to my stepdaughter who calls me daddy and only knows me as such, but obviously, being 5 years old, I wouldn't comprehend much anyway. I guess I'll figure it out when the time comes. OP. I'm pretty raw right now, so take it with a grain of salt, but I wish I'd known. Either way, I would have known my dad loves me, as I'm sure your stepdaughter does. But if I'd known, then I wouldn't feel so shocked and betrayed right now. Also, what happens if your daughter grows up, moves out, and then gets sick? She won't be able to give the doctors an accurate family history. And if she gives them your family history thinking that you're her biological dad, that might lead her medical team astray. She deserves to know where she comes from. Update. Alright, so first off, I just want to say y'all were half right. Secondly, I want to explain in more depth why I didn't think it could be a sperm donor. My family, and especially my dad, hold honesty as one of, if not the highest values. The angriest I've ever seen my dad was when I covered up a bad grade in high school. Now he never hit me or even really came close, but he shouted and made me feel like a piece of SHT. My point is that lying is considered the greatest sin in my dad's eyes. He always told me that a man is only as good as his word. The thought of my dad keeping something like that from me was nearly unthinkable. The reason I went straight to cheating, rather than something like SA, was that I don't look at all like my dad. Because of this, my cousins teased me my whole childhood. They called my mom a dubby behind her back, and combined with my rocky relationship with my mom, this made me always suspect that my mom had cheated. The DNA tests only confirmed my suspicions, which is why I was so adamant that that's what happened. Now, with a clearer head, I realize how those biases were affecting my judgment. Anyway, I called my mom the other day and explained about the DNA test. She chuckled, and instead of confessing to cheating like I thought she would, or to using a sperm donor like you guys thought she would, she said to me, "I guess we couldn't keep this forever. Okay, I guess it's time you knew." And then she proceeded to tell me this absolutely wild story. She told me what I'd already guessed about my dad's fertility, that he's completely unable to have biological kids. Apparently, my parents didn't have the cash to pay for a sperm donor or an adoption, but they wanted a kid more than anything in the world. What they agreed to do was for my mom to drive to the next state and have unprotected intercourse with men in the hopes she'd get pregnant. Apparently, she tried to choose guys who had similar features to my dad so that the extended family wouldn't get suspicious. Luckily for my parents, my sister came out looking like a clone of my mom. 3 years later, my parents did the same thing, and that's where I came from. As I said before, I look nothing like my dad. I do have some features from my mom's side of the family, but absolutely none from my dad's side. Other than that, I have lots of freckles, as do my dad and a few of his relatives. It turns out that my biological father is also covered in freckles. I asked my mom if my sister knows, and she said that my sister doesn't know. My mom asked me for help telling my sister, because my sister has been hinting that she wants a DNA test before having kids, which she wants to have soon. I agreed. I'll be going over to my sister's place to talk to her soon, and the current plan is to have my parents on Zoom. I don't think I'll be updating again, so get your "I told you so's" out of the way now. Second story. My narcissistic father failed as a parent, but he never accepted it. English is not my first language, so please ignore any mistakes I may make. When I was a child, my parents loved me the most. I was planned, expected, and cherished. We didn't have much money, and they worked a lot, but they tried their best to show their love. This never changed with my mom. Obviously, she's not perfect, but she was always looking for ways to become a better person, to express love, and to learn from her mistakes. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for my dad. Everything changed when I was 12 years old. We couldn't have a normal conversation without arguing, because we never agreed on anything. When I started to disagree with him, he began to reveal his worst side. He constantly insisted that I needed to be perfect grades and perfect behavior. The only grade accepted was an A+ or anything less, and he would berate me, calling me stupid, dumb, lazy, and saying I would never amount to anything. But even if I did score an A+, he would claim I had only done the bare minimum and didn't deserve any praise. During that time, I was bullied relentlessly at school because I'm a lesbian. I had no friends, and people would always call me names, throw food at me, and mock my appearance. I felt unloved at both school and home, with no one by my side. I remember showing symptoms of depression since I was 9, and they only worsened as the years went by. When I was 14, I made some friends, and they invited me to a show. I was thrilled and went straight to my dad to ask for permission. His response was, "Since when do you have friends? Since when does anyone like you?" He loved to say that no one liked me and that I was unpleasant, insinuating that it was my fault for being alone. One day, he discovered I hadn't done my homework, so he printed a sheet saying so, wrote "shame" on it with markers, and hung it on my bedroom door. He even threatened to invite his friends over to see the paper and embarrass me further, saying that I should be as embarrassed as he was having me as his daughter. As a teenager, I did everything to get his attention. Breaking curfews, picking fights with him, lying and waiting for him to find out. I maintained good grades and tried to be the ideal daughter, but when I was on my best behavior, he wouldn't even acknowledge me. When I turned 20, I met my girlfriend, and we decided to live together. I left my parents' house and vowed never to speak to him again. My father had never really cared about my sexuality. He had despised me long before that. He never attempted to reach out to me, but when I decided to cut contact, he told everyone that I was ungrateful, that I hated him, and that he was a poor, abandoned father. However, no one believed him, not even my mom, sister, or his own mother and sisters. Now, 4 years later, I'm happily married and pursuing my second degree. However, my mom has come forward, saying that he's always crying and expressing how much he misses me. I told her that I'm open to talking to him, but only if he's willing to acknowledge his mistakes and apologize. Unfortunately, he told her that he had done nothing wrong. I want to emphasize that I've been in therapy since I was 12, and it's the only thing that prevented me from ending my life. And now, just as I'm finally happy, this situation arises. Relevant comments. Your mother enabled him. That's the worst part, I think. I've spent years hating her for that, and for making me grow up alone like that. But after a lot of therapy, I've decided to forgive her. She's always trying to grow and apologize for her mistakes, and she knows how much she fails as a parent too. but I'm totally aware of her lack of attitude. Your mom still needs to stop bringing him up. You're right. I tried to have patience because she's hurt, and he's always trying to make her hate me too. But she can't keep bringing this up to me every time. He won't change and never will. On giving him a chance. I gave him a lot of chances before, but he always did something to hurt me deeply. I truly believe he learned that from his mom, who's an evil narcissist everyone hates. But now he's another narcissist who blames me for destroying our family. Deep down, I want him to be better, to love me, and to understand his mistakes, but he just doesn't want to. Very hard situation. Family therapy. He refuses to accept therapy because he always says only crazy people need it. So I think cutting contact is the only thing left to do. He just misses his emotional punching bag. I totally agree. He misses having control over me to humiliate me and yell when he's pissed. I learned to never cry or show any sign of weakness because every time he saw I was hurt, he smiled like he'd accomplished something he wanted a lot. Kind of sadistic if you think about it. I was truly open to talking, but we will never be family or love each other. It's just too late for that. But at this point, I'm not so sure if I even want to just talk. On how he behaved with others. The controversial part is that he always said I was the perfect daughter to his friends in a way that shows he did a good job raising me. He never accomplished me when I was accepted into college, but he told all of his friends I was smart. To people outside, he seemed like the perfect dad who raised the perfect kids. But at home, I was just lazy and stupid and would grow up to be nothing. All my therapists said he's a narcissist, so that's a lot to explain. This exchange. Commenter. You were a child. You weren't supposed to gain your father's love. He failed as a father. You were allowed to mourn the father you deserved to have. OP. Thank you for your kind words. I've spent all my life thinking it was my duty to deserve love from other people and make them like me, as I tried to do with my dad. But therapy showed me that's not right. Love just happens, and we can't force someone to love us. I'm definitely mourning this dad that never existed. And I hope one day I'll be free from that pain. Mini update in comments. I've talked to my mom to stop bringing him up in our conversations, and I think she finally understands. It takes me forever to understand that he is accountable for his actions, because he gaslights me, saying that he never did anything like that. And I invented all of this to make him look bad to other people. I've spent all my life thinking I was crazy, until my therapist says I'm not. And now I'm working on cutting my father out of my life completely and forever. Update. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the lovely words you guys sent to me. You don't have any idea how much this post changed me. I've never opened up about my situation like this to so many people before, and I only did it because I wanted to see your reactions. I've always felt like I was being crazy or exaggerating. My father made me believe that there was nothing wrong with his behavior, and that I was just being dramatic. However, seeing how shocked you all were, now I know that I was right to be so hurt. Oh, and I've come out as bisexual, so yay. But now, let's get to the update. Recently, I've decided that I want to write my dad a letter. I've tried talking to him many times to express how much he hurt me, but every time he cut off the conversation, saying I was lying, he did nothing to me. Every attempt ended up with us screaming at each other, because he refused to let me finish one sentence without getting mad and telling me to shut up. This hurts me even more, because I was silenced all my life. No one ever gave me the chance to say how I feel, and that's why I wrote the letter. In the first post, I mentioned that he wanted to talk to me, but I knew that he would do the same thing as before. So I wrote a letter and left it on his desk when he wasn't home. I only visit my mom when he's not home. In that letter, I told him how I felt all my life, shared details about everything he did, and how this destroyed me. My mom told me he was devastated after reading it, and he wanted to talk to me about it. Of course, I refused. There's nothing more to talk about, and now I'm free from that agony. I feel so much better and relieved that I was able to spend Christmas with my mom, and his presence was irrelevant. I've spent so many special days without my mom and sister, because I couldn't be in his presence without crying. And now I'm fine and happy. Thank you so much, guys. Happy life for y'all. Thank you for watching the video.